This is the newest FPV drone Avata 2. I've had the opportunity to test it, so let me show you what it can do. But first, let me clarify what an FPV drone actually is, for those of you who's unaware. FPV stands for first person view, which essentially means you see what the drone sees when you fly it. This is unlike a traditional drone like this Mini 4 Pro, where you just stand and look up at the drone, and you also wouldn't need to wear a pair of goggles, which you do need with an FPV drone. Another significant difference is that FPV drones are usually designed to fly much faster, except for the fact that you can also fly incredibly fast with a drone like the Inspire 3, but it's in a completely different price range. You could get many FPV drones for the Inspire 3's price. So now we know a bit about what an FPV drone is. Let's take a look at the new Avata 2 from DJI. You get an incredible nice hard bag with compartmentalization to carry the drone in. Something I really appreciate they have upgraded with their latest products. It's really cool. You get a charging station for 3 batteries, a pair of the new DJI goggles free, the drone itself, and the new DJI RC Motion free controller. And various other accessories such as USB-C cable for charging, USB-C to USB-A, so you can connect the goggles to the DJI Fly app. Then there are some manuals, extra propellers, extra lenses, and some minor accessories. One of the big things about the new goggles is the ability to see the world through the goggles via their real-world picture-in-picture technology, which is made super easy by either double tapping on the side of the goggles or by pressing the wheel twice on the motion controller. How it's done with the new FPV controller, I don't know, because it's not something I've been allowed to borrow this time around. So if you get the new FPV controller, you'll have to find out how to do that yourself. The Avata 2 now also comes with an 04 transmission between the drone, controller and goggles. This reduces delay and interference with the signal. It also means that you can now fly up to 13 kilometers away without any problems. So that's a pretty big deal, in my opinion. An important detail for the incredibly nerdy people, there's now a bitrate of 60 megabytes per second through the new 04 connection. So that's very nice. If you're one of those people who often forgets to bring a micro SD card with you, I can delightfully say to you that there's now 46 gigabytes of internal storage on the drone itself. Still with the option to expand by inserting your own micro SD card. But with these 64 gigabytes, you can actually record up to 90 minutes of 1080p 60 FPS, so plenty of space for most people. I've inserted a 1 terabyte micro SD card, and it won't be necessary at all because I'll never fill up this amount of storage. It's kinda ridiculous. In sport mode, you can now fly 16 meters a second with the new drone, compared to 14, which was possible on the previous version. But in manual mode, like the previous one, you can fly around 27 meters a second. And no, you still can't fly manually with the motion controller, so you'll need to use the new FPV remote controller 3 for that. If you've experienced crashing and not knowing where you crashed, sometimes it can take several hours to find your drone again, but the Avata 2 now has a turtle mode, which means it can roll itself over so you can fly up again. Of course, this requires that you've landed somewhere where it's possible to get up again, which can be a bit harder to manage, but it's possible. There's a lot of image quality options to choose from on the drone. You can shoot in 4K 30 FPS, 2.7K 120 FPS, or 1080p 120 FPS. This is just depending on what you want to capture footage for. Just like with the Mini 4 Pro drone, they've actually significantly upgraded the camera on this drone. You can now shoot in 10-bit D-Log-M, which allows for a lot of correction in the post-processing on the computer. And it also makes it easier to color grade if that's something you're interested in. The sensor itself has also become significantly better, as it now has a CMOS 1/1.3 sensor as opposed to the previous one, which was 1/1.7. You can also take pictures in 12 megapixels, but I can't see why you would want to do that, but it's cool that you have the option. It has an ultra wide angle lens at 155 degrees, so you can capture a lot of the surroundings. The quality you see when you have the goggles free on is really good. The glasses are 2 micro OLED screens that can be easily adjusted to fit your eyes, while also easily adjusting the strength if you wear glasses normally. And with the O4 connection, which creates ultra low latency along with the 100Hz screen seen through the goggles, it's almost like playing an FPS game where you can clearly see what's going on constantly and all the time. So the goggles are amazing, and a lot of people will really appreciate the higher refresh rate. The only few times I've experienced problems have been if I've had many buildings in between, then it tends to lose the connection and give a slightly more grainy image. But if you just fly around the buildings, there aren't really any problems. Besides, the problem often solves itself by simply looking in the direction where the drone actually is at. So it isn't that big a deal. The drone now has some fun and unique features that have been added to get closer to what it looks like when flying FPV in manual mode. So now you can easily do flips, dives and drifts simply by enabling acro mode. The first feature is one push flip, where you can twist through the air and make a 360-degree recording with either front or back flips. The next one is one push roll, where you can roll around horizontally, and then you have the 180-degree drift, where you can, in a kind of high speed, actually drift in the air. It's kind of fun to just mess around with. If you, like me, already have another drone from DJI and thus actually want to swap some of the equipment around, I can delight you by saying that you can actually use both the Goggles 3 and the RC Motion 3 controller on your Air 3 drone and your Mini 4 Pro drone. With the Goggles 3, it's also possible for you to attach controllers like RC2 and RCN2 to control the Air 3, Mini 4 Pro and Avata 2 FPV drone. So it's really nice to be able to mix and match. DJI has also created an app called Lightcut, which can allow you to add some visual effects to your drone recordings. It can also be an easy way to edit the video footage without having to put it through a computer first. I think it's a cool feature that you can see through the goggles, but to be completely honest, I would have preferred if the hinge could bend all the way up instead. Because looking through them doesn't work quite as good as I would have liked, since you don't see as wide a field of view as you normally do with your own eyes. So positioning where things are can be incredibly difficult quite often. Besides that, then the image is incredibly grainy, especially in poor lighting conditions. So even though you can look through the goggles, I would still prefer to use my own eyes. We aren't quite at Apple Vision Pro level in this regard, but that's kinda to be expected. If I were to recommend which package you should buy, I would probably say that you get the most value from choosing the DJI Avata 2 Fly More Combo pack, like the one I have here. Because compared to the single battery version, here you get 3 batteries and a charging station that can charge both ways. And you also get this nice compartmentalized bag. So I would probably choose this version. The bag definitely makes it easier to carry the drone around. Plus, you'll quickly get tired of being able to only fly 23 minutes or 5 minutes and then having to come in to charge the battery again. So 3 batteries means a lot in my opinion. I really wouldn't be without at least 3 batteries, especially not when you're on a trip somewhere. As mentioned earlier, you can also get a new FPV controller, DJI FPV Remote Controller 3. With this controller, you'll be able to put the drone in manual mode, which allows for significantly faster flying, but also without a lot of safety precautions. So here you would want to practice through an FPV simulator first, but when you're good enough, I definitely think you would enjoy it even more. So I'm looking forward to trying the FPV remote controller in the future. If you want to use the drone to record a bit more cinematic sequences, you can also get their new DJI Avata 2 ND filters set, which comes with ND8, ND16 and ND32 filters. So you can comply with the 180-degree shutter rule, giving you the most natural motion blur, and can also give you the correct brightness and contrast in your video recordings. So for cinematic sequences, get the ND filter set. That was all for this video. Thank you so much for watching it all the way to the end. Feel free to drop a like and subscribe down below. I would greatly appreciate it. Other than that, I'm out.